Hey, what's up? This is Joel McNeil with Decks on Decks, and today we're going to be doing the first segment of called Add a Color. So essentially you take a deck and you add a color to see what kind of deck you can produce. Now of course we're doing this for the modern format, and the deck we're picking today is black-white tokens. Obviously you see some red in here, it's because we're changing it up, we're making it MARDU tokens. Now, the main reason for this is so that we can play Young Pyromancers as an affordable alternative to something like Bitter Blossom, if you don't want to have to spend 25 bucks each. That being said, this isn't necessarily a cheap deck. This is just me making cool decks with the cards I have, and I really like this deck. This deck consistently went 3-1 when I played it, and it's a whole lot of fun. So let's start with the lands. Right off the bat, we're going to have 9 fetches, 5 of which are directly on color, being the 3 Bloodstained Mires and 2 Arid Mesas. Now obviously, if you can, I suggest going full Arid Mesas, full Marsh Flats, and full Bloodstained Mires. But that's really not economic and affordable. The Arid Mesas are reaching around 70 each right now, and it's quite a lot of money. So, and then we're just using the 4 other fetches down here to fill in. So we have 2 white fetches with the Flood Strands, a black fetch with the Polluted Delta, and a red fetch with the Wooded Foothills. So as far as our shocks, we're playing 4. We're playing 2 Sacred Foundries, a Blood Crypt, and a Godless Shrine. Our basics, we're playing 4, 2 plains, because white is the main color of the deck, 1 mountain, and a swamp. Now for our 4 technical lands that we're going to use to fill in to make 21, for our land base, we're going to be using 1 Clifftop Retreat, a Rugged Prairie, to help transform mana off of a Blood Crypt into something like white mana that we can use towards something like the Spectral Procession over here. We have Vault of the Archangel, which is a classic and played in most tokens lists, just so you can have life swings and the Death Touch advantage. And speaking of life swings, our 1-man land is going to be Shambling Vents, and that's the mana base. Now, as for our spells, we're going to have a lot in the 1-drop department. This deck loves playing more than a single spell a turn. And as far as its the 1-drops, they're extremely powerful. We're going to have 4 bolts, 4 inquisitions, 4 paths, and 2 faithless lootings. Now, the faithless lootings seem a tad odd. Why are they good? You can pitch something like Lingering Souls, you can pitch stuff that you just really don't need, and it makes keeping a land-heavy hand early game not that bad, because it'll really let you sort through the cards you actually need versus the lands you can just easily get rid of. The flashback is great on it, and it's something you can always go to board out game 2 and game 3. So super powerful 1-drops. The Inquisitions are good. They aren't good on the draw. They're better on the play and game 1. Then once again, they're another thing that you can board out. Path, super solid removal. Bolt, you're playing red, you might as well play a 4 of. And those are our 1-drops. Now with the 2-drops, obviously this is the tokens build. We're going to be playing 4 Intangible Virtue. There's no better card for the deck. It helps you get around tons of stuff. It helps you build up the board and get an amazing board presence. We're talking against Malira Chord. Your only way to avoid losing to a Pontiff is with an Intangible Virtue, and it'll really keep you in the game, because they can chord for Pontiff. They have 5 Pontiffs in the deck. That's how you get around it. Plus it lets you win the game, and Vigilance is amazing and will completely change the tides. 4 Young Pyromancer, which is amazing, and the main card of this deck. Young Pyromancer will make a token with any of your 1-drop spells that you're casting. The rest of the 2-drop spells or 3-drop spells. Young Pyromancer also fits into the best line this deck can produce, which is turn 1 Inquisition, protect Pyromancer, turn 2 Pyromancer, turn 3 Lingering Souls, make 3 dudes, turn 4, cast Intangible Virtue, flashback Lingering Souls, make 3 dudes. And by turn 4, you have such an established board state that you can just power out. Young Pyromancer is absolutely amazing, and they have to kill it, or else the game will just run out in your favor. That's how it works. As for more removal, in the 2-drop slot, we're going to have 1 Helix, just to help with the life gain. It's always nice to be able to crack a fetch land, and get a shock, and not take damage while casting Helix. 2 Terminates, and 2 Zealous Persecution. Zealous Persecution may seem like something you might want to go to a 1 of, game 2 or game 3, but it still acts as a -1/-1 for your entire opponent's board, which can be extremely useful and give you amazing board swings. That being said, it's also the best card against us. We have Young Pyromancer, which is 1 toughness, all of our tokens, which are 1 toughness. So Zealous Persecution is a cool card. Feel free to board it out. but always leave one in, and it can just let you win the game on a dime. Then we hit our main token makers, which are going to be our 4 Spectral Procession, our 4 Lingering Souls, and our other 3 drop in the slot, which isn't token maker necessarily, in Colligon's Command. Now, Colligon's Command is essentially in here to be a Swiss Army knife. We had been playing around with this slot earlier, and the one of Colligon's Command is great. You can always get back a Pyromancer, you can always just kill something, you can always make them discard. There's always a great tempo play to be made with this card. And at the top end of our curve, we're going to have 2 Sorin Solemn Visitors, which are amazing. The +1 Anthem will really help you swing games back in your favor. Not Anthem, I mean the +1 effect. The -2 comes into play, but mostly when you're losing, and Sorin becomes a bad top deck, and he's essentially a 4-mana 2/2 flyer, which typically doesn't last that long. But he's in the deck, he does pump your team, he does give your team lifelink, and he's an all-star. And the last card in the deck is going to be Murderer's Cut. So that breaks down our 75. Or 60, I should say. Now, as for the entire 75, that includes the sideboard. The sideboard is really just a product of what the current meta is, and what cards generally go good in this type of deck. Now, keep in mind this deck does have a control-ish feel to it, with all this removal in it. It's almost a Mardu tempo deck, Mardu mid-range, whatever you would want to call it. It's not like we're playing sweepers, but you pack so much removal that you almost feel like a Jund deck at times. So taking that into account, right off the bat, first card in the sideboard is Unanger the Gods. Super useful. There's no reason not to. Matter of fact, we have 2 of them. Next card up is a 2 of Surgical Extraction. Surgical seems weird, seems a bit particular, but with the amount of combo decks going on, the Nahiri shenanigans with Emrakul, we're talking Valakuts, we're talking you name it, you want to rip something out of their deck and just make them not be able to touch it anymore, make it a non-factor in your game, Surgical Extraction is the way to go. Against small aggro decks and long grindy games, we're going to want to board in 2 Grim Lavamancers. For the damage, the repetitive removal, it's a shock on a stick as long as it doesn't die. It's a solid card. It earned its spot in the sideboard time and time again. Now, because we are a control deck, we are playing something spicy here. 2 Mana Tides. White Force Spike, why not play it? If you're on the draw, you can definitely put it in and try to tempo off your opponent's turn 2 play, which could really let you capitalize. It's really just in there to have some fun and catch people off guard, so I hope that's what we're going to do with it. Next, we typically do actually pretty well in the Affinity matchup. Affinity hates decks that play Lingering Souls and Path to Exile. It stops them from going wide and stops them from piercing, and we play both as in a 4 of. But as for added affinity protection, we're playing a 2 of Kataki. I feel Kataki is more efficient than Stony Silence in the Infect game, and honestly, just mulling again to 4 so that you have a Kataki, slamming him turn 2, and hoping they don't have the Galvanic Blast will win you the game. They will concede. It seems sketchy, but it definitely gets there. Kataki is a super underrated, powerful card, but once again, it's a really niche card, and it's only good in that one matchup. Might see play against Lantern Control, but once again, another super niche deck. As for burn and aggressive matchups, we have a 2 Timely Reinforcements, which makes sense with the whole token theme, and gaining 6 life is absolute value. Can definitely keep you in the deck, keep the deck in the game. And 2 more cards with the Surgical Extraction-like ability, Crumble to Dust. Once again, this is for dealing with Valakut, a deck we really don't have any game for. We're trying to establish a slower clock and jam up the board, while Valakut really doesn't care about that and won't seek to interact with us. Their goal is just to ramp, play lands, and then 18 to the face. If we can take out their Valakuts, they have no game plan against us, and we can essentially run them over, so Crumble to Dust is really key in that matchup. And lastly, we're going to play a Dreadbore. As the 15th card in our board, is good against Planeswalkers, like Nahiri, which are cool, so you can Dreadbore, Surgical Extraction, a Planeswalker. You can hit other creatures with it. It's a great other card